Today's episode of the Trip Sitting Podcast is sponsored by Fungi. Fungi uses kanna, which is a succulent from South Africa known for its mood enhancing, stress relieving, and potentially euphoria inducing effects. Sometimes it's referred to as nature's MDMA. They've taken that kanna and they've blended it in fruit chews, chocolates, and now tinctures for you to use if you want to go out and maybe not drink as much, or if you're just chilling at home and want to relax a little bit. Fungi's got everything that you need. We've actually had the founder, Phoebe, on the podcast before. So if you're interested, make sure that you use the link in the footnotes of this podcast to go to their website and then use code TRIPSITTING for 15% off. Again, please use the link in the footnotes of this podcast and then use code TRIPSITTING for 15% off your order of Fungi products. Sam Believ is the founder of LaWayra Ayahuasca Retreat Center in Colombia. And I had the pleasure of meeting him a few weeks ago I was actually on his podcast, which is called the Ayahuasca Podcast. So be sure to go check that out. And we just hit it off, and he's really passionate about educating people about ayahuasca, about its benefits, about how to properly, interact with this substance. And he's doing really, really good work. So I was really happy to have him on the podcast to share more about his story and educate me a little bit more on ayahuasca in Colombia. Make sure that you are following the Trip Sitting Podcast, whatever platform that you're streaming this on. And if you feel called to do so, please give us a rating so that way the algorithm gods can get us in front of some more viewers. And then also make sure you're following us on social media @_tripsitting_. That's all I got for you. So here is Sam.
Friend of mine, Marcus, he's the guy who helps us with marketing. He's like, that's the most difficult business model there exists. Like, he worked in different kinds of businesses, and he's like, this is so difficult because you're running a hotel, you're running a restaurant, you're running a spiritual retreat, a transportation company, like psychological support, marketing, social media. Like, it's so complex, and there's so many moving parts. But in my case, I'm also actually running a farm and like a physical retreat, which is like 10 acres, and there's trees I need to plant. And like, we had this big avalanche in the river where like stones just were rolling down the river and like destroying vegetation. It's like, it's a once in a lifetime event. Nobody got hurt because we're like far away from the river, but it's like now I need to like figure out how to fix everything. So this is lots on my mind. That I'm not sure if that's what you wanted to hear. Not really.
No, that's exactly what I want to hear, because that's fucking real.
Yeah.
I think that there's maybe this idea that, running a retreat center is like this really glorious job that's, always, you're around ayahuasca and it's always spiritual and amazing and joyful, but like, there's real things that you have to deal with while these retreats are going on, like the things that happen in the background of the retreat to make everything run smoothly. People that are experiencing the retreats don't notice, and if it's done well, they don't notice it at all. Sometimes they might notice it a little bit, but it's tough work. And I think people need to understand that it is work trying to put these together and all of the logistics that are involved with it. How many
also like our team is like 23 people, not including like construction people. So right now we have about 30 people I need to kind of manage, make sure everyone is doing the right thing. And it's a difficult one, but I think that I like to say that for those who aspire to start a retreat, if you wanna do it for money purposes, there's many other easier ways to make money. But if you're doing it because you have a calling, then it's a great thing to do.
Yeah. When did you start LaWayra? Is it LaWayra or is it LaWayra? How do you pronounce it?
LaWayra.
LaWayra. Okay.
It's, I like to say it's La and then Y and then Ra.
Okay, okay.
It's like
LaWayra.
LaWayra. Yeah.
When did
So
so when did you start the retreat center?
we actually started exactly 3 years ago. So we are, it's right now, it's July 2024. We started in July 2021. So I think maybe we're like a week ago from doing complete 3 years. But back then I didn't start an ayahuasca retreat. It might sound a little confusing. What happened? It was my desire to drink medicine from home. It was
Hmm.
this plus a synchronistic opportunity that a person wanted to rent my. It's called Finca in Colombia, but what it is like a little farmhouse with some grass and stuff like that. I was renting rooms in it, and a guy showed up, and he wanted to rent my space to do an ayahuasca ceremony there. And this was the period where I was pretty depressed and like directionless in life. So I was like, wow, this is really synchronistic. And then we started doing this, and then he actually did this thing where instead of renting the place to do the retreat, he was like, "You organize everything, and I'm just gonna come and give the medicine," which was his way of trying not to pay me. But in the end, it resulted. He kind of gave me the keys to like, okay, you're in charge, and then from then on, it just started growing, and there was a lot of work involved on my side and also on my wife's side because we started with my wife. So there's a lot of work, but at the same time. It was also a lot of synchronicities. So basically, every every big direction change, it was synchronistic. Something would happen. So I pay a lot of attention to anything that's happening that seems synchronistic, but all the work was done by me and my wife. So we just sit there and observe, and we act accordingly. I don't know if it makes any sense, but I don't. I have a plan. I have a direction I'm going to, but I realize that it can change any moment. And I'm actually now once again in that stage of like rethinking. But I do it probably once a year. But yeah, long story short, we started 3 years ago. First year was just maybe once a month, 1 week in a month, and then it started to be 1 week a month, and then now we're doing 18 days every month.
Damn, 18 days a month, every single month. That is
Hmm.
work, my friend.
And mind that the other time in between is not rest. Like for example, now I'm on a podcast with you. I try to schedule all the stuff. I have my own podcast as well. As you know, I do like at least an episode a week. All the construction, all the stuff, and we have 3 kids. Like we have 2 kids, 3 years old and a year, 3.5 and 2, and then we have another girl. She's about to be born in August. So I don't know, man. Some days I think that if not for occasional ayahuasca that I drink myself, I'd probably get burned out like by now. So.
Yeah, I mean that's a real thing. How did you end up in Colombia to begin with?
So I took a year off. I was kind of like I was working in offshore oil and gas. I was really successful financially. Back then, it was like what 6 years ago. I was making like $500 a day, tax free, living in a country where this is like monthly wage. So I was balling. I was successful. I had this career and everything, relationship, everything you ask for. But I was like deep inside, I was really unhappy, and I was like, what the hell is wrong? Like society tells you like you do the career and you do all this stuff, and then you're gonna be happy once you achieve it. And I was like, okay, so I have my own apartment, I have a nice car, girlfriend, the career is like, why am I so miserable? So I started asking those questions, and then I realized that. Maybe what I want to do is like travel, do something that will make me happy. And around the same time, synchronistically, so once again, they started like lowering wages at the company I was working at because like oil prices were going down or something like that. And I saw it as an opportunity. Also, I was like kind of fighting with my girlfriend. So I just kind of quit my life and I took like a sabbatical, like a 1 year off to like travel. And I
Hmm.
always wanted to go to South America, but like going from Europe to South America is really difficult and expensive because it's kind of far away. So if you go there, you might as well go for a long time. So I went for a year. My plan was to do Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Chile, Argentina, Brazil, and then come back. But then I did 3 months in Colombia, 2 months in Peru, 1 month in Ecuador, and then I got called to work again, and I was kind of running out of money, so I did that. And when the time came for me to come back, I was like, I realized the further I went from Colombia, especially Medellin specifically, the less I enjoyed it. So I just came back
Mm,
straight to Medellin. And for a few years, I was spending 6 months in Europe, 6 months in Colombia, Medellin specifically, till I met my wife, and I just never left.
how long ago
So
was that?
I first came to Colombia 8 years ago, and I was here on and off. But like 5 years ago, I basically settled here and never left. So yeah, 2016 was when I arrived to Colombia. There was actually an interesting story which I like to tell. Sometimes we have so we call people that come to the retreat patients, and I can explain you why. But when they come over, some of them like they experience like friction on their way here. Something is not working, and they think like, oh, maybe it's a bad omen, and I should give up and not come. And I explained to them that when I was coming to Colombia for the first time, I actually lost my passport on a layover in JFK, and I never lose anything. Like I never lose stuff, and I just lost my passport, which was terrifying, terrible. I had to fly back to Latvia, where I'm from originally, make a new passport, and then still come and still do the trip and come again, losing a lot of money, changing
Wow.
my plans completely. But I was like, no, you know what? I set out to come to Colombia. I'm going to come to Colombia. And now, like Colombia, I have this life here, kids, family, business, everything, like full picture. So it's like sometimes the resistance comes because it tries to tell you you're not in the right path. But sometimes the resistance means it's like, are you sure you're ready? Like, can you take it? And then if you overcome it, a lot of good things come through. So for me, this whole journey was really difficult, and but I overcame it. Now I have a good life. So, but challenges keep coming up. I think I forgot your original question.
Nah, man, we're doing good. So when was the first time then that you then drank ayahuasca?
I first drank maybe 4.5 years ago, something like that. I was already with my wife currently. We had she got pregnant and we lost our first baby, so she had a miscarriage at like month 3, which got me really miserable. I think I cried for the first time in like 10 years. I was in this mental state, and then I was already curious about ayahuasca back then, and I was kind of like seeking for direction in life and all this together. And then the opportunity presented itself, and I went to this like one ceremony, like standalone one ceremony, like Colombian style, where you get like 80 people, and you basically show up. They give you the cup, you drink it, you have your experience, and you leave. Like bring your own mattress style thing. And it was actually my first experience. Was It was really like I connected immediately with the medicine. It was very visual. It was very beautiful. There was a lot of stuff. And mine, like back then, I would still consider it a drug, and I never did drugs. So for me, it was a big leap to actually do something like that. But there was definitely this calling. I was 50% sure I'm gonna die, but I still did it. And for I think I remember that I thought like, wow, this is a nice experience, but whatever, right? You do it once in a lifetime and you just move on. But
Mhm,
shortly after that, about a few months after that, I started like changing my life gradually, and I didn't really connect it to this ayahuasca experience at first, till about a few months ago, where I found this video that I made for this YouTube channel that I never started, setting goals for next few years, where I listed this list of things that I wanted to achieve, and it all became reality, like stuff that was unachievable for me back then. And I think something that happened to me in this medicine experience was when I, for some reason, stopped doubting myself and just started believing myself, and I just set those goals and just started making them become a reality.
man, that's awesome. So, man, that's really interesting that like like it wasn't even like planned for you. Did you do any sort of preparation like before that first experience, or like did you literally just show up and they just gave you a cup and you left?
So they say, like here in those ceremonies there was really relaxed rules. Like they didn't give me much instruction. Something about the diet And I was like, yeah, I ate this a few days ago. They're like, yeah, as long as you don't eat it like today, you're fine. So I was kind of worried about that as well. But I maybe had 2 days to prepare at most.
Mm, okay.
And then I was straight in it. And I was lucky that I connected, because now I know that not everyone connects on their first ceremony. And it was one ceremony thing. And I only had one cup. And I went straight in, deep, deep. So I think that what makes me realize maybe I had to connect. It was like urgent. I needed to step on that path. Like it almost felt like it was waiting for me. And then when after that, maybe 6 months later, I went in the ceremony again. And then I think it was when COVID started. So we moved to the countryside, and I started drinking medicine. Like every weekend, I would be trying to find some of those ceremonies, standalone places to go. And I was getting depressed at that moment, because everything that I was planning and setting out, it wasn't like working. And also, like, I didn't have direction in life, so I didn't want to go back to offshore oil and gas. I also didn't know what to do really, but we had our first kid was on the way, and I was like kind of feeling as a failure of a man, because I was like, I didn't know what I'm going to do, how am I going to provide, even though I had like pretty good setup. I bought this apartment in Medellin from my savings, and I was renting it and kind of living through passive income. But it was this kind of early retirement where you live very humbly, but you don't really need to do anything.
Hmm.
For me, like, I know some people really desire it, and sometimes I find myself now, when I'm so busy, that I really want that feeling of not having much responsibilities. For me, it was like a death blow. It completely made me feel completely useless, and really, really depressed. So this is what got me into ayahuasca again. But this time I was not just like, oh, let me just try this thing. I was really seeking it for healing. My intentions were like, help me find direction in life. And then I started feeling this calling to want to go to the jungle. Like, I just, for some reason, I was like, I need to go to the jungle, drink medicine in the jungle. I'm going to the jungle. I don't remember where it came from. And I was trying to get some connections to find somebody, so that when I go, I'm not going to be there, by myself. And I actually found this one lady. So there's Taitas in Colombia. There's Taitas and there's Maimas. So Taitas are male shamans and Maimas are female shamans. So I had this Maima that said she'd probably receive me. She was really busy and very mystical. It's really hard to plan stuff with shamans. They're not really that on time. So, but we
they
had this
don't
agreement.
they don't necessarily follow the same organized rules that the rest of society follows.
As I like to say, they live on a different time zone. Like every time for them is also somewhat psychedelic. But I had this agreement that I'm going to go and drink with her. And then this guy that I was telling to you about, who came over to rent my space, he was like, he came to see the finca that I was living in. He's like, yeah, it's good. It functions for me. I'm gonna rent it and do the ceremony. But first, when we come back from the jungle. I'm like, what do you mean you're going to the jungle? I was like, I'm here trying to go. Do you know anyone? He's like, yeah, we're going. We have this whole trip planned. So I just joined him,
Mm.
which was another synchronicity. And then the second ceremony, so first ceremony of me in the jungle, I was actually drinking with the Taita, who is my Taita now at the retreat. He's been with us for like a year. Before that, we worked with his uncle. And then this second ceremony, I get this big download. I think it was my seventh ever ceremony. It just hit me like everything dissolved. I was like, universe was showing me how it works, and it was showing me how to heal people with my hands. And I was like, I'm an engineer. I'm this non-religious, non-spiritual person. I'm just here trying to heal my depression. Like, I back then I would see medicine as like, yeah, there's this compound that does something to your brain, it resets it, you feel good afterwards. Like, yeah, that's it. And then it was like showing me like, do this, and energies and vibrations and Mother Earth and like angels, and like it was a crazy experience. And then so it really left me like, it gave me direction. So it specifically told me like, if you don't work with medicine, you will never be happy. It was like,
Mm.
it was one of the messages, but there were many, and it left me like with this direction that I was looking for, but it was completely unexpected. So And then I came back, and then we started organizing ceremonies, and later, do you know, here we are. But once again, I feel like I'm I'm losing the thread of your original question.
Dude, I don't even know what these questions are. Like that's kind of the whole point of this podcast is that it just goes off wherever the hell it decides to go
Oh,
off and the conversation just continues to go from there. So I do want to go back to one thing that you said earlier was the fact that people that come to your retreat center, you refer to them as patients.
yeah.
Why is that?
So the reason we call them patients is because, number one of the first things I tell them when they arrive, they're not going to be any drugs during this retreat, only medicine, because
Hmm.
ayahuasca has been a medicine for thousands of years. It's only been called a drug for like last 50. So medicine, patient. Number two, patient comes from word patience. And we really want people to be patient. We're like patience, 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 because a lot of people, they want to come and they want to have this drug experience. They want their mind to be blown and they want to see visions. But as some titles say, if you want to see pretty pictures, go to the cinema. Like ayahuasca is not about visions. Visions is just the side effect. Like there's much more important things that are happening that are not even visual. And so this is why I would tell people, have patience, because it's also not for everyone on the first ceremony they're gonna break through and have this amazing life-changing experience. A lot of times it takes few ceremonies for the medicine to like scan you, purge you, clean you out till when you're ready to establish that connection. So all of that nicely ties into the word patient. And also, like, yeah, it's you're here to heal. You're here to heal. You're not here to have a fun experience. And I think
It
that's
can be
why
fun though. You're
it
allowed to
can
have
be.
fun, right?
No, you're allowed to have fun, and there will be moments where it is a lot of fun. And the way we structure our 1 week retreat is it's 3 night ceremonies, 1 day break, and 1 day ceremony. And the day ceremonies tend to be celebratory because you see all this beautiful nature around you and flowers and butterflies, and you've already cleaned out and reset so much. You're in such a good mental space where you can truly appreciate the beauty of the Mother Earth. So celebration is fine, but it's like you need to understand that at LaWayra, our motto is actually connect, heal, grow. It's like
Hmm.
you connect here first to the medicine, connect to yourself, connect to the group, connect to the nature, to God. Then you heal physically, mentally, spiritually, release all the stuff, and then you grow. But in that growth part, you can also add that the part of it is just feeling the joy of life. Like a lot of people that come to the retreat, they say like, yeah, the grass is no longer green. Like everything is just muffled, and I don't know what I'm here for. I lost this desire for life, this spice, and this is what medicine helps you to reconnect with, and then people can see it. So there will be moments. Sometimes there's like for some reason there's like this wave of laughter that just goes through the ceremony, and then everyone laughs and then comes to normal. But like you don't want to skip any steps in that connect, heal, grow paradigm. Some people just want to skip to the grow part. They just want like, yeah, here I want to be like, I want my answers and I want to feel great and I want to have a lot of fun. But you need to connect and you need to heal, and healing implies purging. It implies difficult emotions. It implies really digging deep. So yeah, for that you need patience.
Yeah, I remember the last ceremonies that I participated in. The second ceremony, it was just like back to back nights when I was in Costa Rica, and the the second night was like all very very just like joyful and powerful, and like I felt like the whole universe, and I just felt very connected to everything, and it was just like a very pleasant experience overall. But that's not to say that it wasn't there weren't times during it where like there were things that I had to sit with and that I had to purge and that were kind of uncomfortable. But just like this thought came into my mind during that was the fact that like in order to get to that space of like immense joy and gratitude and love, like I had to go through quote unquote the shit in order to get there. Like like you have to do that work, and like you have to go through those more unpleasant and uncomfortable parts in order to get to those good parts. Like there's no way to just skip to the good part is the thing. And so yeah, I think ayahuasca, at least for me, just does a a very, very good job of showing me that, and also then helping me understand that life works the exact same way. Like life is one big ayahuasca ceremony in that sense, that there's going to be shitty parts and there's going to be great parts, and you can't just skip to the good parts. You have to go through every single thing that's supposed to happen for you, because that's just the way it is. You know, you can't control the experience that you're going to have, or else you're just going to make it much harder on yourself. And the same
Yeah.
absolutely goes for an ayahuasca ceremony, is that if you try to control it and you try to make it go a particular way, it's not going to go that way, and it's probably not going to be that fun.
Yeah, what you're saying about, ups and downs in life and in the ceremony, an engineer in me likes to explain it this way, like when you're in a car and you're going 300 miles an hour, whatever, you cannot feel the speed. We
Hmm.
don't feel the speed, but what you feel is acceleration and deceleration.
Mm.
So like in life as well, the only way to feel joy is when you go from being sad and feeling bad emotions to then feeling good emotions. This is what you feel. And this is also the other graph is what you feel. But it's like if you're already happy, or like if you're in like everything is okay, you don't feel anything. You just get used to it, and then you need that acceleration or deceleration emotionally, like this roller coaster, to feel stuff. So I'm saying it to myself as well. We're going through like a rough period now, because like you don't expect to have like once in a 30-year kind of climatic event happen exactly on your shift, and like you need to deal with stuff, and it's like extra expenditures and extra stressors. um, so it doesn't feel nice, but I also need to understand that it's probably setting me up for the next loop going upwards, where it's going to feel very nice, and then there's probably going to be another downwards, and
Hmm.
that's just life. It's like if you don't feel the ups and downs, you don't feel anything. I mean, it's probably not even worth living, because that's where life happens, in those emotional
In
ups and downs. Yeah,
the in like the turbulence of it, the
yeah,
the shakiness of it all. Uh, I agree, man. It's really beautiful when you're able to like step back from the void and like not be so enthralled in what's going on, that you can realize those things, and you could realize like, oh, I'm just in a bit of a downturn right now. Like I'm just getting to the valley, and like, man, it's gonna be really cool once this ends. But like, I just gotta like stay grounded, and just understand that there's not much you can do sometimes to get out of those, but they do end eventually. Um,
yeah. Every time there's like there's this seasonality to ayahuasca retreats as well. People tend to really want to start the new year from the good. So like normally it's like December, January, February, March. They're very full. It's also like when the weather is good in US, less people are coming to Colombia, because it's okay weather in US. So like right now, June, July, we're feeling like it's less people than normal. And for me, it's always, for some reason, there's part of me that's like, that's it. People are not going to come. Like, nobody's interested in ayahuasca anymore. Like, I failed. It's like when you're going this way, you kind of feel like, oh, it's just, there's no end. Like, it's
uh-huh.
hard for you to feel that this is coming. Like, logically, you can understand it, but emotionally, it's like, that's it. It's over. I've done something wrong.
Yeah.
There's something I did. Maybe that raising the price by $50, there was a fatal mistake. Look at me. I failed. It's like there's this inner voices. It's like then you have to be mindful enough to like catch yourself thinking that, and like rethink it. But at the same time, don't prevent yourself from feeling those emotions, because then that's what we do as a society now. The instant gratification and just constant bearing down and bearing down and bearing down of negative things. So this is why when people come to ayahuasca, all of this comes up. And the analogy I also like to use is like you have in the ceremony, your emotions and your mental state is like this glass of water with like sediment on it. And sometimes people have like so much sediment, they basically have this little bit of clear water on top just to survive. And it's like they don't, like ayahuasca moves it up and sediment comes up, and you need to clean it out, and this is where the works come through. But then some people just choose to like, yeah, this was nice, and then like it settles in again. It's an analogy I'm still working on. I haven't refined it, but there's there's something there.
Yeah. So I've got a question about medicine in Colombia in general. So uh Colombia, there's yahe. That's where that originates from, correct?
Hmm.
Is there a difference between yahe and ayahuasca, or is yahe just what they call ayahuasca in Colombia?
So it's mostly just a name thing. It's kind of like I
Okay.
like to say it's like you can have Cabernet or you can have Merlot. Both are red wines, and both are gonna get you drunk. But if you're an expert, you can maybe tell the difference. So ayahuasca, first of all, both of them are made of ayahuasca vine plus a DMT shrub,
Hmm.
and the vine is same, or at least the type of the plant is same. There are subspecies and sort of smaller differences, but they're not really that big. And then the difference is that in Peruvian ayahuasca they use chacruna as a DMT shrub,
Hmm.
and in Colombian ayahuasca they use chagropanga as a DMT shrub. But both are
Gotcha.
DMT shrubs, but they do have some small difference, as in like the amount of different other
Like the
components like
alkaloids and stuff that are
alkaloids. Yeah.
also, yeah,
So some people can tell the difference between the two, but in reality, it's really very similar. So I've never tried Peruvian ayahuasca myself,
hmm,
but I've had probably 20 people by now that tried both, and I always ask them. And some people say Peruvian is stronger. Some people say Colombian is stronger. Some people say one is more purgative. The other say so. It's like honestly, I think the difference in between both is as much a difference you can get in between one batch and the other batch of the medicine, because it is
probably,
somewhat
yeah.
different every time.
Yeah, that is something that is, like, kind of amazing about the medicine. Is that, I mean, honestly though, but like I could drink the exact same medicine three times and have a completely different experience three times. Is the
Exactly.
thing. So like, how is anybody ever able to truly tell like what the differences are between the medicine, or if it's just what they happen to be going through that one night?
You can have two cups one night and feel nothing, and next night have half a cup and have a life-changing experience, and they're both coming from the same bottle, and it's there's so much stuff that like it's really hard to explain. So this is why we have a shaman, right? He's been a shaman all his life. His dad is a shaman. His granddad was a shaman. So it's a lineage. They really know what they're doing. So they just look at you and they pour you the cup. And if you try
Hmm.
to like intervene and you say like, no, give me more, give me less, you always end up in trouble. You just have to trust them because somehow they know. And regarding Colombian ayahuasca, the benefit is that some of the modern like interest in ayahuasca actually started in Colombia. Like um, Evan Schultes, he was actually traveling in Colombia when he was doing all this work about ayahuasca, not in Peru. But then what happened? I think in 80s and 90s, when the ayahuasca started to really popularize, Colombia became very unsafe because of all the narco activity. So it was somewhat overlooked when it comes to psychedelic tourism, and it has its like negatives because obviously there are positives to psychedelic tourism, but the positive side to it being overlooked is that they didn't like over harvest their plantations. They didn't, because ayahuasca is a harvested plant. You can get it in the wild, but mostly people just have their plants. So you have some of the older vines, you can say, and it's a little less crazy. Like you cannot come to Colombia and go to the market and buy ayahuasca. It's still very revered and very respected. So and there are certain laws for you to be able to serve medicine. Like for example, I cannot give you medicine because I'm not a shaman. I'm not a part of indigenous community. Here, they you need to get a permit from a shaman who had this permit from another shaman, right? It's like you have to be part of the indigenous culture. So I like that it's been overlooked, but it's kind of taken more seriously. And I also think that Colombia has a chance to do it right, like do it differently as Peru have done it, and maybe go a little slower at how it deals with psychedelic tourism, right? But of course, it's only my hope. We try to do things right here at LaWayra, but it's hard for me to know what what other people do. But yeah, I'm very hopeful for this specific type of tourism. Like I like to say, one of my dreams and goals is to rebrand Colombia from cocaine to ayahuasca,
Mm.
because like rebranded. So those are coca. Let me show you. By the way, this is called mambe. This is a
Mambe, yeah, I know
yeah. This
Mambe.
is fine ground coca leaves, and this is traditionally used like it takes away hunger. It's a superfood, gives you energy. It's like coffee but without jitters. It's like this amazing coffee that
Mm.
has no negative side effects. It's actually so
Do
both
you use it
coca
with Ambil?
ambil. No, I don't like ambil
Yeah.
personally, but I do like different forms of tobacco. But coca and ayahuasca, they grow literally in the same jungle. Like you can have
Hmm.
their little pieces of coca plantations and ayahuasca plantations, and they like the same climate. Both are this amazing master plants. Like ayahuasca, coca, and tobacco are this magical trio that they're allies, and they can heal you. But what we did as people, what we did to this medicine is like we just we took this amazing coca leaf and we synthesize it and run it through gasoline or whatever it is they do, and made this terrible thing that like kills people and also kills people that produce it, and like destroys the jungle and stuff like that. But in reality, coca leaf is this amazing medicine, and it's like we did the same thing with cacao, which is also
Hmm.
medicine. We did the same thing with tobacco,
Yep.
and there's more things that we found and we ruined it because of whatever different approach. So I just hope we don't do it with ayahuasca. I've seen
We're
this.
doing the same thing with mushrooms right now too.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. I don't know how to prevent people to destroy those plant medicines, but I think the main key would be to look at it as a tradition and realize that tradition is the root that keeps the tree healthy. And if we try to get rid of the roots, like instead of drinking ayahuasca with an indigenous shaman in the jungle, we're gonna make an ayahuasca gummies, and I don't know, do something weird with it.
That's funny.
So
I just saw an article about people that are trying to make ayahuasca gummies in the United States right
yeah,
now. Like this
this
past
is
week.
this is. I mean, I don't want to be one of those like ayahuasca zealots, but it is a sacrilege. Like I'm sure
It
this is
is.
this is exactly what it's gonna do to ayahuasca, same thing as it did to coca. Like there is this guy called Wade Davis who wrote a book about Colombia, and he's like amazing guy. I'm really trying to interview him now, so guys, help me manifest that. But he says cocaine to coca is what vodka is to potatoes. Like it's
Yeah.
there is no connection. But basically, how can we go back to like using coca and like growing it legally and using it traditionally as this amazing medicinal plant, and how can we, instead of like having people come to Colombia for cocaine and hookers, how we can get them to come here for ayahuasca and like ecotourism, being in nature and heal. For example, veterans, there's a lot of veterans that come to Colombia running away from their pain from PTSD with cocaine and prostitution. That's just reality. I know it's not a nice topic to talk about, but how many of them actually need nature and ayahuasca to actually heal, and
Hmm.
not be seeking those things to like run away from pain. So I don't know where I'm going with this, but I think that Colombia, for me personally, it has this amazing potential to go from a place that was kind of making the world sicker by exporting all this cocaine to now make a world healthier, to just bring all those drug addicts here and just heal them with ayahuasca and make them healthy and happy. It's such a beautiful place, and obviously I'm not going to be able to do it myself, but there's other retreats here, and hopefully as we go along, as it goes in popularity, we can do it in a more authentic, traditional, and also affordable way. I think that retreats here in Colombia generally tend to be a little less crazy priced.
I got one word for you on how you're gonna do that. It's patience. On
Exactly.
that note, man, I think we're gonna cut it right here. But before we do, where can people find you?
Go to ayahuascainColombia.com or LaWayra.com. This is our website. It's just easier for some people to find ayahuasca in Colombia, but Colombia with Colombia, not Colombia like a state in U.S. And check out my podcast. That's really easy to find. Ayahuascapodcast.com. I also have an episode with Cameron then as well. You can find it.
Yes, sir. Nah, Sam. Well, thank you so much for coming on my podcast too, and sharing a little bit more about Colombia and ayahuasca in Colombia too, and your personal story. I really appreciate being able to connect with you, brother. So much love.
Thank you for hosting me.
That is all I got for you this week. So thank you all for tuning in and listening. Thank you again to Sam for coming on the podcast. I really do appreciate it. And I'm just feeling really good and really grateful right now to be able to bring these conversations to anybody who might be listening. So once again, I am blessed. Thank you, and I love you so much. And we'll see you next episode.